The silence of Orbital Station Vega 9 wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of silence that came from control, clean, calculated, and constant. Every corridor hummed with soft blue lights, every door opened and closed on time, and every worker followed orders without question. That's how the conglomerate liked it. Jackson Morrow knew the silence too well. He moved through the metallic hallway with a toolbox slung over his shoulder, his boots echoing faintly on the steel floor. His face was calm, unreadable, like someone who had done this job 1,000 times. In truth, he had. Engineer Level 4. Repair Crew. Clearance Code C-92. He fixed what they told him to fix and stayed out of the way. But today, something was off. His assigned task had been simple: check a faulty data relay on Deck 7. But when he opened the panel, the system inside wasn't broken. It had been rerouted. Someone had hidden a private data line deep inside the wall, hidden behind layers of junk code. Jackson hesitated. He looked both ways down the empty corridor, then sat on the floor. He connected his personal device, a slim handheld terminal. Lines of encrypted data streamed across the screen. At first, it was nonsense. Broken commands. Incomplete strings. But then one word appeared, clear and unmistakable. Earth. Jackson froze. He hadn't seen that word in years, not in any official system. Earth was marked as a dead zone. Uninhabitable. Contaminated. Forgotten. He tapped deeper. Video files. Dozens. He opened one. The screen flickered, then cleared. Trees, tall and green. Wind moved through golden grass. A stream glistened under sunlight. Birds flew across a pale blue sky. Jackson stared. He blinked hard. He played another file, different forest, a rainstorm soaking rich soil, lightning flashing in the sky above a green valley. He played another, wildflowers blooming over the ruins of a fallen city. It wasn't old data. The timestamps were recent, days old. This is real, he whispered. His heart thumped. He copied everything to his terminal and unplugged. He stood up fast, almost dropped the device. His breathing was shallow. If this was true, if Earth was alive again, everything the conglomerate had told them was a lie. He moved quickly now. He had to get the data to someone off-grid, not through conglomerate servers. He knew one place, an old contact buried in the lower levels. Someone who used to run pirate comms before the last purge. He took the maintenance lifts, bypassed security scans using his clearance. Every second felt heavy. At level 12, he found the backdoor signal port behind a cooling duct. He uploaded the files with a single encrypted push. That's when the alarm blared. Unauthorized data breach detected. Lockdown in progress. Jackson swore and ran. The corridor turned red with warning lights. Security bots flooded the level. His name and face flashed across the wall screens. Subject, Jackson Morrow. Level 4 technician. Status, fugitive. They knew. He sprinted past confused workers, jumped a railing, and dove into a trash chute. It dropped him 4 levels lower. He crashed into a pile of storage crates, groaning. No time to stop. He climbed out, staggered down the hallway toward Docking Bay 3. Only one option now. An old supply pod, half decommissioned, barely flight-ready, sat in the corner of the hangar. No guards nearby. Luck or fate, he didn't care. He pried open the hatch, threw himself into the cockpit, and began override commands. Come on, he muttered. Just hold together. Warning sirens blared across the hangar. Seal all launch bays. Code black. Jackson smashed the ignition panel. The pod shuddered to life. The bay doors began to close. He at launch. The pod roared forward, scraping metal as it shot through the narrowing exit. Outside, the black of space opened wide, and then silence. The pod drifted, burning fuel fast, angling toward the blue-green planet below. Earth. No longer dead. No longer lost. But now every eye of the conglomerate would be on him. And they would not forgive. The sky above was a deep, dull gray. Thick clouds rolled across the ruins of what was once a city. The buildings were broken bones, concrete and steel twisted by time and war. Dust covered everything. Nature had begun to return in small, stubborn ways, green vines creeping up shattered walls, moss growing in sidewalk cracks, weeds breaking through old glass. And lying in the middle of it all was a smoking escape pod, torn open from the crash. Jackson Morrow opened his eyes slowly. Pain pulsed in his side. He groaned, pushing himself up from the metal floor. Sparks flew from the broken control panel. The pod had landed hard. Systems were fried. His ribs ached. His vision blurred. But he was alive. He staggered out of the hatch and fell into the dirt. Cold air hit him sharp, dry, but breathable. Not toxic, like the conglomerate had claimed. Not poisoned. Just real. The air smelled of dust and leaves and ash. It smelled like Earth. Jackson looked around. He had crashed in the outskirts of an old city, half swallowed by the land. The silence here was different from space. It was not controlled. It was wild. Broken, but free. He reached for his pack and staggered into cover, just in case. The conglomerate might have tracked him. Drones could be coming. He crouched behind the wreckage of a crumbled wall and waited. But instead of drones, they came on foot. 3 figures moved through the fog, lean, fast, weapons drawn. Jackson raised his hands. "I'm not armed," he called. The figures surrounded him quickly. Their clothes were patched from different eras, scrap armor, tattered jackets, cloth tied around their faces. The one in front lowered her scarf. She was young, maybe 20, with sharp eyes and oil-streaked skin. "You're not from here," she said flatly. "No," Jackson replied. "But I'm not conglomerate either." "Then what are you?" "I'm a tech," he said. "I brought something. Something you need to see." The girl hesitated, then motioned to the others. They tied his hands and led him deeper into the ruins. They took him underground. Beneath the city was a maze of old subway tunnels and bomb shelters. Fires burned in barrels. Wires ran through stone. People, dirty, tired, watchful, glanced at him as he passed. Children peeked out from behind steel doors. They weren't a community. They were survivors. In one of the main tunnels, they pushed him into a room lit by weak solar bulbs. The girl from earlier dropped his bag on the table. "I'm May," she said. "I lead patrols here. This is Sector 5. Jackson nodded. "Jackson Morrow. I'm from Vega, 9. A man stepped forward. Older, with silver in his beard and a scar down his cheek. "Vega, 9, he asked. "That's conglomerate territory. You're a spy." "I'm not," Jackson said firmly. "I found something on the station. Something they're hiding. I risked everything to bring it here." He reached into his jacket and pulled out the data chip. He placed it on the table. "This is proof. Earth isn't dead. It's alive. Healing. There's green out there, trees, rivers, wildlife. I saw it with my own eyes. This chip has recordings. Real-time scans." The room fell quiet. May crossed her arms. "We've heard lies before." "Then see for yourself," Jackson said. They plugged in the chip. A projection flickered to life, footage of forests, storm clouds, growing fields, rain falling over ruins. The people in the room stared. Some gasped. One woman began to cry. "It's true," Jackson said. "They lied to us all." The older man looked shaken. "If this is real, the conglomerate will come. They won't let this stand." "They're already coming," Jackson said. "They traced the data breach. That's why I ran." May stepped forward again. "There's a place. South of here. An old research station. People say it held pre-collapse tech, machines that could restart ecosystems. Terraforming systems. But no one's ever gotten in. Too dangerous." Jackson's eyes narrowed. "If we can find that system, we can help Earth recover. Really recover." The older man spoke again. "That's a death mission." Jackson shook his head. "No, it's the only mission." The room was silent again. But something had changed. A few eyes looked less hopeless now. Just a little brighter. Finally, May nodded. "All right," she said. "You brought fire to the ashes. Let's see what we can burn." They left at dawn. The ruins behind them faded into the dusty air as Jackson, May, and a quiet woman named Ray moved across the land. Ray was a former conglomerate scientist. She didn't talk much, but when she did, her words were sharp and exact. She had worked on old-world systems until she realized what the conglomerate was really doing. She had fled years ago. Now she followed silently, holding a rusted data pad close to her chest. Their destination was far south, a buried research facility known as Station Arcadia. Ray believed it held something powerful, an energy core built to restart natural systems, something the Earth itself could use to heal. They traveled through dry forests and cracked highways, past old factories and collapsed tunnels. Most of the cities were empty, just skeletons left behind by war, storms, or both. But sometimes they saw signs of life. A hawk overhead. A deer sprinting into the trees. Grass pushing through pavement. Earth was healing. Slowly. Quietly. May pointed toward a distant hill where vines wrapped around broken wind turbines. "Wasn't like this a year ago," she said. "Something's changing." Jackson nodded. "It's starting on its own. We can help speed it up." They reached a ridge by nightfall and made camp. The fire was small. They ate from sealed ration packs. The stars above were bright, far brighter than anything seen from space. Jackson stared at them quietly. What was it like? May asked, breaking the silence. Up there. Jackson thought for a moment. Clean. Cold. Controlled. The conglomerate watches everything. Every message. Every movement. Even thoughts, if you're chipped. Why'd you stay so long? She asked. I didn't know anything else, he replied. Then I saw the files. Earth alive. Real, not just rumors. And I couldn't look away anymore. May nodded. Most people up there won't believe you. I don't need all of them, Jackson said. Just enough. The next day, they found Station Arcadia. It was buried under a collapsed mountain, hidden behind layers of stone and overgrowth. Only the top of a rusted dome stuck out. Vines covered its surface. Birds had built nests on its edge. Ray ran her hand over a metal panel. This is it. She connected her data pad and began scanning. Power cell is buried, but it's still sending trace signals. Old tech, solar fusion hybrid. If we get it working, it could power an entire region. Will it restart the land? Jackson asked. Not alone, Ray said. But it will activate the deep systems, water release, seed vaults, microclimate stabilizers. Everything built to restore life after a collapse. May looked skeptical. And it still works after 200 years? Some parts, Ray said. But we'll need more people, more gear. And time. They camped near the dome and began basic repairs. Ray focused on the data lines. May scouted the perimeter. Jackson worked the power coils. After hours of effort, lights flickered inside. A deep hum vibrated under their feet. Then a small screen lit up with a blinking symbol. Core status, dormant. Energy reading, minimum. Security mode, enabled. It's still locked, Ray said. But it's alive. That night, back at the underground shelter, trouble was brewing. A man named Keller, who had watched Jackson closely since his arrival, stood in the shadows of the main corridor. He didn't trust outsiders, especially not ones who brought attention. He had lost his wife to a conglomerate drone strike years ago. He believed in survival, not risks. And he had seen the red light blink on the satellite dish earlier that day. He walked to the old transmitter in the storage room. It still worked. He opened a secret frequency. This is Unit 9, he said into the mic. Target Jackson Morrow is alive. Coordinates sent. I want safe passage and supplies in return. He hit transmit. Far above Earth, on station command, the signal was received. Director Voss watched the screen. His half-synthetic eyes scanned the message. Begin drone deployment, he said. No survivors. Back at the dome, Jackson looked out at the growing green on the hills nearby. May sat beside him, quiet. We're getting close, she said. Jackson nodded. Which means they'll come. Ray emerged from the dome, holding a metal chip. This activates the core, she said. We just need the rest of the access codes. In time. They didn't know it yet, but time was the one thing they no longer had. In the skies far above, the first wave of drones had already begun to fall. The first explosion came before dawn. A deep, bone-shaking blast that echoed across the valley. Birds scattered. The earth trembled. Dust filled the air. Jackson jolted awake, his heart racing. May was already grabbing her rifle. Ray ran from the dome, eyes wide with fear. Jackson reached the ridge and saw the smoke rising, thick black columns twisting into the sky. The explosion hadn't hit them directly. It came from the direction of the underground shelter. Oh no, May whispered. That's Sector 5. Jackson grabbed his gear. We have to go. They packed in minutes and raced back through the path they had taken just days ago. The trees blurred past. The sky above was no longer calm. It buzzed with something unnatural. Then they saw them. Drones. Hundreds of them. Black metal, hovering in swarms, scanning, moving with precision. Their eyes glowed red in the early light. They didn't make much sound, just a low hum, like a machine holding its breath. Jackson pulled May behind a broken wall. We can't go through them. Ray crouched beside him. They're searching, not bombing everything. They want something. Jackson clenched his fists. They want me. By the time they reached Sector 5, it was too late. The shelter was gone, burned, collapsed, buried in ash and smoke. Fires still burned in twisted pipes. The tunnels had fallen in. Some bodies lay on the ground outside. Others had been turned to dust. May walked through the wreckage in silence. Her jaw was tight. Her hands shook. They killed everyone, she said, voice cold. Jackson didn't answer. He was looking at a wall, spray-painted words burned by fire. We saw the green. A survivor's last message. Ray stared at the wreckage. They didn't just come to kill. They came to erase hope. Jackson turned to her. That's why we can't stop. They buried what they could. Then they returned to the dome. But the mood had changed. They were fewer now. The sky above felt heavier. Fear had crept into every corner of the land. Jackson sat inside the control room, staring at the half-lit display. The core systems were still locked behind conglomerate codes. Ray had cracked part of it, but not enough to activate it. It's designed to connect with 3 more access points, Ray explained. One of them is beneath the city ruins to the west. If we can unlock that node, we might trigger the rest. We don't have time, Jackson said. If they find us again, it's over. May walked in with an old radio. Then we make noise, she said. We stop hiding. Jackson looked at her. What do you mean? We show the truth, May said. Send the green to every colony. Let people see Earth isn't dead. Let them choose. Jackson looked at Ray. She hesitated, then nodded. We can hijack an old satellite link. I can boost the core footage and broadcast it on public channels. But once we do, there's no turning back. Good, Jackson said. Let them come. They spent hours building the broadcast tower. May rewired the old transmitter. Ray cleaned the signal data. Jackson gathered footage, trees, rivers, birds, flowers pushing through broken pavement. He added voice to it. A simple message. Earth is alive. Come see it. Come home. When the signal went live, nothing happened at first. Just static. Then the screen flashed. Public signal online. Broadcasting to outer colonies. Ray smiled weakly. It's out there now. Jackson watched the horizon. Now we wait. But they didn't have to wait long. Within an hour, the sky filled with movement. Drones again, but larger, faster, more aggressive. The conglomerate had received the message, and they were not pleased. The ground shook as dropships landed on the far ridge. From them came black-armored soldiers, half machine, half human, programmed to erase resistance. Jackson, May, and Ray armed themselves. They knew they couldn't win in a fight, but they could delay long enough to finish what they started. As the enemy drew closer, Jackson activated the dome's last defense, an old shield wall buried beneath the earth. It lit up around the structure, crackling with power. It wouldn't hold forever, but it would hold for now. Inside, Ray worked fast on the core codes. May monitored the perimeter. Jackson stood at the gate, rifle in hand, watching shadows move through the fog. He wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Because something had changed. The green wasn't just returning to the land. It was returning to the people, too. The air buzzed with tension. A thin fog hung over the valley. It was quiet, but not calm. It was the silence just before a storm. Inside the dome, the ancient energy core pulsed with a faint glow. Ray sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by wires and code. Her fingers moved fast, sweat on her brow. Each line of data brought her closer to unlocking the system. But the deeper she went, the more she realized how complex it was. This core wasn't just a machine. It was alive in its own way, designed to sync with the land, respond to Earth's natural signals. That's why it was still working after 2 centuries. It didn't just survive. It adapted. But now it needed one final command. One final push to awaken fully. Ray looked up at Jackson and May, who stood near the dome's viewing window, watching the dark figures move in the mist. They're closing in, May said. 5 dropships. 2 full drone squads. At least 50-foot soldiers. Jackson kept his eyes on the fog. We need more time. We don't have more time, Ray said. But I've got a plan. I found something. She showed them the screen. A series of coordinates, pulsing with red light. The core is waiting for a signal from Earth itself. It needs an energy spike, a surge, something natural and powerful. Like lightning. A storm. Jackson stepped forward. We've got clouds. What if we force the strike? Exactly, Ray said. The old towers around the ridge can be rigged. If we ground them and pull charge, we might be able to direct a strike into the dome. That should wake the core. May grinned. Dangerous, crazy, and impossible. Sounds like our best idea yet. They moved fast. May climbed the tower first, carrying coils and copper cable from an old generator. Jackson hauled a backup power cell onto the ridge, sweat pouring down his face. Ray stayed with the core, linking the outer systems to the mainframe. The first dropship landed across the valley. Drones spilled out like black insects, scanning, searching. The sky turned darker. The wind picked up. Thunder growled. May reached the top and shouted down. Connection set. We're ready. Jackson jammed the power cell into the base. Sparks flew. The tower lit up, bright blue crackles running through the cables. Above them, the clouds churned, restless and heavy. Then it came. Lightning. A blinding flash tore across the sky and slammed into the top of the tower. The bolt danced down the cable, through the valley, and into the dome. The ground shook. The core let out a deep, rising hum that grew louder and louder, until suddenly, it exploded in light. Inside, Ray gasped as screens lit up around her. Dozens of panels activated. Readouts poured in. Her status, active. Environmental systems engaged. Atmospheric repair sequence, online. Water release systems, online. Seed bank unlocked. Rain began to fall. Soft at first, then heavy. It wasn't acid. It wasn't ash. It was clean, cold rain. Jackson and May stood soaked in the downpour. All around them, the land began to respond. Plants uncurled. Cracked soil drank water like it had been waiting for centuries. Seeds, long buried, began to swell and sprout. The enemy stopped advancing. The drones scanned the ground, confused. The soldiers paused, shields flickering. This wasn't expected. Then the core let out one final pulse, stronger than before. A shockwave of energy rippled through the valley. Drones short-circuited. Their red eyes flickered, then dimmed. Soldiers screamed as their synthetic gear overloaded. The ground beneath the dropships cracked, swallowing one whole. The sky opened above. Light poured through. Back in the dome, Ray broadcasted the event live. Across the outer colonies, the footage streamed. Earth alive, healing, rejecting its chains. For the first time in over 2 centuries, hope spread through the void of space. On mining colonies, workers stopped their drills and stared. On research stations, scientists cried. On transport ships, people cheered. The message was simple. Earth is alive. Earth is ours. Come home. Director Voss watched from his command station above Earth. His artificial brain calculated every outcome, every possibility. And for the first time, he saw something he could not control. Choice. People now had a choice. He slammed his fist against the console. Sparks flew. Cut the broadcast, he shouted. But it was too late. The signal was already bouncing across every channel, every frequency. Truth could not be stopped. Below, on Earth, green spread through the valley like wildfire. The sky wept with joy. And in the center of it all, Jackson Morrow stood with his team, soaked and smiling. He looked out at the land, then back at the core, now glowing with soft, steady light. It's starting, he said. For real this time. Sunlight broke through the clouds. Not weak, pale light, but bright and full, the kind that warmed skin and made the ground shimmer. The storm had passed, and in its place came stillness. Not the silence of death, the silence of renewal. The valley below the dome had changed. Where ash once covered everything, grass now pushed up in green waves. Ferns unfolded near the edges of old roadways. Water flowed down from the hills, fresh and clear, filling the cracked riverbeds. Birds chirped from trees that hadn't existed the day before. The land was coming back, fast. Jackson Morrow stood on the ridge, watching it all happen. His clothes were soaked and muddy. Cuts lined his arms. His voice was hoarse from shouting during the chaos. But he was alive. And so was Earth. Behind him, the dome still hummed softly. Ray sat in front of the glowing core, her fingers dancing over the keys of the terminal. She looked calm now, tired, but peaceful. May stood beside her, eyes scanning the live readings. All systems stable, Ray said. The core is self-adjusting to the environment. It'll expand the healing zone day by day. Jackson nodded. How far will it reach? Ray glanced at the map on the screen. Eventually? Everywhere. May looked up from her display. We've already picked up new oxygen levels. Rain patterns are shifting. The land's responding faster than any of us thought. Jackson exhaled slowly. Good. The 3 of them stepped outside the dome. Other survivors had begun to arrive, some from nearby ruins, others following Jackson's broadcast. Tired, scared people carrying what little they had. But their eyes were different now. They weren't filled with fear. They were watching the sky, the ground, the trees. They were looking at Earth with hope. Jackson stood on a platform made of old scaffolding and spoke. Earth is not what they told us it was. It's not dead. It's not lost. It's not theirs to lock away. He looked out at the crowd. It's ours. To live on. To care for. To protect. They listened in silence. Some nodded. Some cried. Others just closed their eyes and let the sunlight touch their faces. Far above, the conglomerate command stations floated silently. Director Voss had gone quiet. The soldiers left behind had either shut down or disappeared into the forests. The drones that hadn't been destroyed were taken apart by survivors, repurposed into farming tools, water collectors, and energy devices. The war was over not through battle, but through change. The people had chosen Earth. In the following weeks, new camps rose across the valley. Tents, solar panels, greenhouses. Children played near the river, their laughter echoing off the rocks. Families planted seeds with bare hands. Engineers rewired old machines to work with the land, not against it. The dome became a beacon, not a fortress, but a heart. People came to learn, not to fight. They shared stories, maps, soil samples, and songs. And Jackson? He didn't claim leadership. He didn't want power. He walked among the people, helping where he could, building shelters, repairing pipes, planting trees. One morning, May found him kneeling by a small patch of soil, placing a single seed into the ground. "You never stop," she said, smiling. He looked up, dirt on his hands. "We're just getting started." On the edge of the growing forest, a rusted conglomerate drone lay half-buried. Wildflowers had started growing around it. Vines crept up its frame. Nature was claiming it, just like everything else. Jackson passed by and paused. He placed a smooth stone on top of the drone and whispered, "Let this be the last machine that tried to silence the earth." By the end of the season, the valley had a name again, Eden Ridge. A place reborn not by force, but by will. A place where truth had taken root. Where one man's choice had become many. Where life had returned. And where the story of Earth, its true story, had finally begun again.